the good thing about being part of these international platforms now that farmers are coming together is that there's a lot of shared information and lots of shared experiences. So I think I would say currently what I see in the movement in Zimbabwe is that farmers are really looking at how can they increase their yields, and looking at how can they look at even things like soil health, because for so long we have been tilling our fields, and now we're starting to move to minimum till, not yet completely zero till yet, minimum till, and looking at how we can reduce the amount of soil erosion. So there's quite a lot to pick in terms of what is the most important. But I feel as a farmer that our voices are united, that the experiences that our other farmers have had over maybe more years of farming are really vital to us. So as a Zimbabwean farmer, as a woman farmer, we see that we are not going to go backwards, but move forward in terms of how we improve our farming. Well, imagine if we didn't have internet, or if we didn't have the tools we have today, we would not be able to share this information as fast as we're sharing it right now. So absolutely, it's very critical. Unfortunately, in terms of development, I think something like this year, the pandemic, since last year, really has exposed a lot of vulnerability in that we were not well prepared in terms of access to technology, because again, still accessing this information is available on the internet, but still access to internet is still something that's very limited in our communities. Before, when we spoke about internet and technology, we thought that we still have a few years, but it's really critical that we have it now. And being able to, I always share with my colleagues that when I travel, especially to the United States, and visit some of the corn farmers, and I see how they're growing their corn and how we're growing our corn, shared experiences like that are very important. And now, with less travel, we need to have more of those available on platforms like this, where we can share information from farmer to farmer, avoid outbreaks, avoid a lot of things that we experience as farmers.
I think that we have to work all together, because the world is one. We are just links inside the big chain, and we depend on the other actors of the chain, and the other actors depend on farmers, because we need to produce in a healthy way, and we know that we try to improve every day at the fields. I think that with our technology, with our system as a no-till farming, I think that we can improve the situation. We can be friendly with the environment. Perhaps we need to speak with another stakeholders and put common targets to work together. I think that this is a big challenge for us. Not to work separately, farmers, consumers, traders. We need to work together and speak the same language.
I don't have an exact policy yet. I would need to think a little bit about it, but I would say definitely more freedom. Farmers their voices need to be heard more in policy formulation, because we are working on the fields. We know what's best for the work we're doing. So I think that is something that is lacking. We see a lot of academia in policy making and very few farmers in policy making.
Farmers should involve more in policy, because in general, technicians, farmers are always thinking about our problems, our job, our situation, the climate, the rains, the temperature, the forecast, prices. But sometimes we have to leave the farm to enter in the urban process and to join with policy and make policy, because sometimes we say that the rules, in general, the rules don't let us produce as we want. And in general, yeah, also here in Argentina, we have a lot of taxes that because we are farmers, and this is a problem too.
But when my parents got educated, they moved into the city, but then they later on moved back into a rural area to farm. So what I'm seeing is there used to be a few years ago, a few decades ago, maybe a move for people to move into the city and have a better life. But people are now realizing the potential the land has. So we're seeing a lot of young people looking for land in the rural areas and wanting to farm. Again, like you mentioned, maybe similar. We also have people even in the cities who are looking for abandoned land and growing. There's a rise in urban farming as well. So people are not very, I wouldn't say people are removed from agriculture. People are very much in touch with farming. I think our statistics are quite high in terms of people who live in the rural areas already, and very few people live in the cities. And people are seeing that there is a lot of potential in farming in the rural areas. So it could be slightly different from East Africa and Kenya, where the earlier speaker mentioned, but in Zimbabwe, we're seeing a rise in farming. And all this has to do again with technology, with awareness and rebranding agriculture and telling a story of potential that agriculture has. It's really helped a lot.
Herbicides to control weeds. So the idea with the cover crops or with the services crop, as we call now, is to reduce the amount of or the quantity of chemics that we can use at the field. But when we work in Africa, I think that the no-till system in Africa has a lot of opportunities. As we work with live things like seeds, plants, first of all, we need to work, introduce, and adapt the technology locally. Because the interaction between crops and environment are not the same in the different regions. We always say that we couldn't copy and paste the way they produce here in Argentina in other parts or another countries. But the no-till farm is a process that take at least 4 or 5 years to establish. In that process, we can test different techniques. What we saw in the video of Andres Mendez is technology that is very, very new here in Argentina and is not working in massive way. It's available, but not enough proof. But the way that we are working is in that sense to apply the minimum necessary, but we have to apply the sanitaries in the field. And we work here with only with green and blue label of toxicity products. This is one of the points that we try to do in all the parts of Argentina. The same happened with the fertilizers. We have we should fertilize because we don't remove the soils, so we don't put the nutrients. We have to apply what the crop or what the soil needs. But this is a problem that we have in general with people who say that we have to produce in organic products, and we think I personal think that if we need to produce food for 6 billion, 7 billion, I don't know exactly the amount of people in the organic way, it's impossible. We need to produce with chemics.
Cooperatives are how we can farm better, because most farmers are smallholder farmers. So if we're looking at all this technology that's out there and adapting it, we will need to work as cooperatives. So it's something that's big right now, and has a lot of potential and opportunity. And also hearing the stories of how it's worked in other countries is really a reminder that cooperatives are very important.
Cooperation is very important for farmers to farmers. For example, in Argentina, we have about more than 30 years of no-till. But during this time, we made a lot of mistakes. Our idea is, when we share the knowledge, is to avoid people who wants to enter in our way of production to make the same mistakes. We have the solution. Obviously, that we have new problems in the future, and we don't have the solution now, but we have to work together to look for these solutions. I think that if we share knowledge, we can make the distance shorter. Thank you.